Hi everyone and welcome back to the series of success stories. So for every MBA aspirants, there is one name that stands at the very top, a dream that represents excellence, resilience and consistency. Today we have with us someone who has turned that dream into reality. So joining us is Vinayak, who has successfully converted Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad, one of the most prestigious B school in India. So what we are going to cover in this session is their journey from preparation to performance, his challenges which he faced along the way, their interview experience, and the key lessons which every cat aspirant should know. So, without any further ado, welcome Vinayak. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So, Vinayak, can you give me a brief intro about yourself? Like, what was your UG and what was your background per se?
Yeah. So I'm Vinayak. I'm 23 years old. I was born in Noida and then I lived in Gurgaon for a while. After which I moved to Mumbai. There I've been living for the last 13, 14 years. But I recently moved here around 8 to 9 months ago for my job. So I shifted my job and it was in Gurgaon. So I shifted here and I've been back in Gurgaon for the last 9 months. I did my undergraduate from IIT Bombay. So I prepared for JEE, got into IIT, selected civil engineering as my branch. And there at IIT had a lot of fun, made a lot of friends, and also did a lot of dance and a lot of culturals, had a lot of interactions with a lot of people there. So that was all amazing. And after that, I from IIT only I got placed into NBFC called SMFG India. So it's SMF Sumitomo Mitsui is a Japanese corporation. It's a Japanese bank, and they had a NBFC in India. So that's where I joined as a business analyst. And after working there for 1 year, I moved to my current job, which is I am the head of customer experience at NIIT Limited. So that's been my journey throughout from college to the current job. Apart from that, I also am an author. So have written 3 novels. I published my first novel when I was 13 years old. So I've always been into literature and I've read a lot of books and wanted to write from a very young age. And I wrote my first book when I was 13 and I've published 3 novels since then.
That's really nice. It's really good to hear that. So, do you have any hobbies as well, like apart from novel, writing novels and the
Yeah, so I mean, majorly, of course, I love reading and writing. Of course, it has gone down a bit nowadays with everything, with all the work and all the preparation for IIM, of course. So hopefully, now that I've converted, maybe I'll be able to read more. But majorly, I love to dance. I love sports. Specifically in sports, I love to play volleyball. So these are the few hobbies I really enjoy, like dance and volleyball.
That's really nice, though, Vinayak. So, again, coming to your profile, your background. So, how was your profile code? Like, is it 999 or is it like 989? Because our aspirants wanted to know, like, is it a major criteria to be get into Ahmedabad?
I mean, mine was 998, so definitely not 999, which everyone thinks you need. But I think you still need some level of merit throughout to be able to display to the college that it is you are meant to be there. But I don't think it's a blocker or it stops you from getting in. But yes, of course, it's good to have,
Oh,
definitely.
that is true,
Yeah.
very true. So, was MBA always the plan, or did something trigger it? Like after joining your NBFC, and when you mentioned about your work ex, so after joining there and getting that exposure, did you plan to go for MBA, or was it always the plan?
It wasn't always the plan. I have been always thinking that I would get into filmmaking or writing or direction, film direction. So I've always thought that I would go in that area, uh, like direction maybe or screenwriting. So that's what I had thought I would do. I had plans to probably enroll into NYU and then get there and try to get into Hollywood. So that was what was the plan when I was around in 11th, 12th. Even while I had started my JEE preparation in 11th, I still wanted that. But I realized after talking to a lot of people that that's a very hard path to take. But I mean, even an MBA is a hard part to take, but going in a foreign country, foreign city, having to learn all the things, have to start from scratch. People said that maybe you just keep on writing few things, start posting on social media, and slowly build your audience from there. Have not got into that a lot. I did try to post one or two small movies here and there, but I'll get into that more. I still also have that passion of creating small movies here and there. But MBA was not the plan. And around, it was in last year of college, of last year of BTech, when I started realizing that MBA might be something that appeals to me, because I started to have that drive of building a startup. So around fourth year, I saw that in a lot of education spaces and in a lot of uh, learning environments, uh, people are not able to learn fully because we still at some places teach in the same way that we used to teach multiple years ago. Like, so I want to I want to create a startup that can change that kind of environment, and I want to involve gamification in the education space, so that, like something like Duolingo, what they did for languages, I want to do it for math, let's say, or science. So something that
Understood.
is fun and makes learning very fun is something that I would want to do. So as soon as I realized I would want to do that, MBA started becoming clearer as an option, but I thought I would get a few years of work experience before that.
That's really nice. So again, when you mentioned that the thought came into picture when you were in fourth year of your graduation, right? So why did you waited so long? Like you had your work ex of 2 years and then got into MBA. So is it your first attempt or you have already given some
No, no, I
attempt?
did attempt in 2023. So, as when I was graduating, as you said, tried to give it that year only, and I got a 99.7 percentile, which did not get me A or B calls, A, B, or C calls actually. I got K call and I call, and since I was not very keen on joining anything apart from A or B or C, I did not really prepare to the extent that I prepared this time, so could not convert there, and that's why I did not join in 2023. After working for almost 6 7 months, I realized that I did not want to give CAT last year, because after working for that amount of time, I realized that some amount of work experience will enrich my profile, but also make me more aware about the world and more aware about the corporate scenario. So that's the only reason I didn't give CAT last time. So this is my second attempt, and yeah, you know that how it is
Yeah,
now.
true, true. Very true. And it's visible on your face though. So how competitive was the cat prep environment among your peers during that time?
I mean, among my peers, it was everyone was has been preparing for a long time. I was fairly confident about the CAT prep part, because I had given it in 2023, and I know I missed by a few marks only, and I just had to prepare a bit harder. So for me though, I did follow a routine where I used to give mocks a lot. So I did not really given a lot of time to studying as such, because to me the mocks provided that kind of comfortable, uh, like it helped me get comfortable with the CAT exam. So I gave more mocks. So I used to give, I think, 4 or 5 mocks a week, uh, and I did that for around 2 months. So apart
Okay.
from that, there was nothing else that I'd prepared for. But of course, after mocks, you would score, and you would be wrong in a lot of questions. So you would have to go study about those questions. So of course, that also helps. But I think the basics were already built because of my graduation and
Yeah.
also from my 2023 attempt. So yeah, that's how. But it was fun. Sometimes in mocks I used to get top five. Sometimes in mocks I used to get 50. So yeah, it's a fun experience doing the cat mocks.
So when did you started the preparation? Like 3 months before, or
Yeah,
as
I
you
think
mentioned, you did 2 months.
correct. I
You
started
mentioned
2.5 months ago, before the cat exam.
cat exam. So
I thought, yeah.
So, as you mentioned about the mock, so I'm really keen to know what was your first mock score?
I would not remember it. Actually, I can tell you my range. I out of the 204 marks that were there, I have scored as high as 140, and I have also scored as low as 71. I think 71 was something where was the lowest score. I was like, what happened here? 71 कैसे आ गया? But and that was I think 2 weeks before CAT. So it was even more frightening that oh I got very less compared to how much I usually get. I would usually get around 110 range in the mocks. But I think first mock would have been somewhere around 80 or
True,
90.
true.
Yeah,
So, how many mocks in total have you given? Like, how did your scores trend over time? Like, starting from the very first mock that you've given, and after that, you slowly, gradually increases the intensity of the mocks.
correct.
So, how did it went?
I think maybe overall over that 2 months I might have given some 35 mocks. So that really helped to just get the groove of giving the exam. Uh, the scores were scattered here and there a bit, simply because sometimes I would give mocks without too much rest. Sometimes I would come from office and give the mocks. So of course I was doing office alongside. I was working alongside doing the CAT prep. So all of that sometimes affected the mock score. But I also started seeing significant improvement in the section that I was scoring the least in. So VA was something that that actually lowered my whole percentile in 2023 as well. So I got 99.99 in QA and 99.9 in LRDI
I
in
loved it.
2023, but I got only 96 or something percentile in VRC. That's what I remember. Maybe I could be wrong, but this time I scored 99.4 in VRC section. So that's simply because VRC I kept on practicing. I only gave majorly VRC sectionals. So for a long time, I prepared for that, and it helped. So I think uh, I would suggest, and I've been suggesting people who are preparing for CAT to do as many mocks as they can, because I think that's the best way to
True.
prepare.
Yeah, exactly. I believe that. Again, coming to the question when you mentioned about your work ex. So, alongside with work ex, how did you manage to prepare it? Because I know this is your second attempt, but in your first attempt also, you have been doing some side hustles as well.
Yeah.
So, how did you manage that, balancing both the things?
Yeah, I mean, it was a bit tough, but I would try to. I mean, I did have to use you. I usually left office around 7 or 8 p.m. and it was a 1 hour commute till home. But during some days where I knew that I had to give a mock, and it's been a bit of time since I gave my last mock, I would try to leave as early as possible in the morning to office, so I could leave early from there and come back home quicker. But of course, a lot of time that does not work. You get work and you can't leave. So I used to sometimes during the lunch break give the 40-minute sectionals. So usually instead of the walk with friends after lunch, which we usually have now, or
True.
I used to give the 40-minute sectional in that 1 to 1:40 p.m. time slot sometimes. And that helped actually. I was like, why am I doing so much mehnat? But it helped, so can't complain.
True, but it's very fruitful, no, right?
Yeah,
After seeing that result, it seems very
exactly.
fruitful. So, did you ever feel like giving up? What kept you going throughout this journey? Because I remember people who do drop out and then they started preparing, and this if they it's their second attempt, they again they feel demotivated at times. So, what is that one thing which kept you going? Or
So majorly, I think the most important thing, of course, is that CAT is not the end goal, or not the. It does not, even if you do not do well, it does not end everything. I still had a job, even if I did not have a job. I knew I have a skill set that I can apply to places, and I'm an author. I
true,
also do that. So I think to everyone as well that CAT is just a journey towards the goal that you have, and maybe it happens this year, maybe happens next year. So even when I did not succeed in 2023, I did not feel defeated as such. I was just sad that I made this silly error in LRDI question and silly error in the VRC question. And of course, that will be there. But I think what kept me going was that, oh, I am just preparing for a regular exam. I have given JE, I have given other exams, and I know that even if I don't do well, it will still be, I'll still find my way. So I think as soon as you start putting too much pressure on yourself about, oh, I have to perform, I have to get this much, it stops you from thinking widely. And I think that's what CAT checks, how you are able to think logically, how you are able to think about cases that are not usually thought of. So I think the major thing that helped me was I did not take too much pressure. I mean, for the interview prep, of course, there was a bit of pressure that I took, but yes, for the CAT preparation, there was almost no pressure on my side.
So that's really nice though, but the way you handled it. Again, the question is when you mentioned your section during your first attempt, the weakest section for you was VARC.
Correct.
So, well, like, how did it change in the second attempt?
Yeah, so I think mainly it changed because I also watched a lot of YouTube videos on people who face similar issues. So, for example, I am very good at vocabulary and English. I just Uh, I just would get confused simply because to me I'm more of a creative person than an exactly language person. So VRC checks language, not exactly creativity or
True.
literature, right? So I would be like, okay, this makes sense to me. If I write, I can write. I would write without thinking about the language barriers because I'm the author, and that's why not everything was fully understood by me. But also, I think I watched a lot of videos. What specifically helped me was during the CAT preparation. So I followed Cracku's Sayali ma'am for VRC, and
Okay.
she had this whole idea of active reading, which exactly is that you write everything. You write the summary of whatever whichever paragraph you read. So you read one paragraph and write the summary of the paragraph. You read the second paragraph, you write the summary of the paragraph. So I was worried about VRC, but as soon as I started doing this, of course, after the first few attempts while active reading, I did not finish the VRC section only. I left five, six questions, so it did not go well. But as I got more familiar with it, I got better with it. I was able to understand that this is something I should do on my final CAT exam as well. So I think the major thing that helped me was I had a fixed routine that I would do in the CAT exam. I knew I would in VRC, I would do active reading. I would write. I knew I would attempt all the 16 RC questions first and then the VA questions. And even in the DILR, I knew I will first attempt the DI questions, then the LR questions. And for the quant, I knew that I will not attempt any geometry questions. I'll first attempt all the non-geometry questions and then come to geometry. So because I had given enough mocks, I had that in my head. So I knew that even if the toughest paper comes, I knew know how to approach it. So I think even if some people, yeah. So as I was saying, the major thing that I believe hampers people is they try to do new things on the day of the exam. And
Yeah.
I believe if we go into the exam with a set structure, it helps tremendously because you know and you have some control over the paper. Now, with the CAT exam, the most, or any exam, the most problematic thing or challenging thing you can say is that we don't have control over the kind of questions that come. We don't have control over anything as such. But I believe as many variables you can control, you'll be able to give a better exam. So what I did was I had a structure for how I'll attempt all three sections, and that's what mainly helped. But of course, there's a lot of information nowadays available on YouTube, and there's a lot of good coaching institutes out there as well. So I think we should leverage all these uh, in today's time and leverage them to the fullest capacity because there will be like millions of YouTube videos. How do you know which one to exactly watch?
Yeah.
So
True.
I think you talk to people, you understand which videos help specific people. For example, I watched some of the other some of my seniors, and I asked them what did they do. So they suggested to me some videos, they suggested to me some books. So Arun Sharma, of course, and And I think that's how it works. You just talk to people more, you just try to understand what you want to do.
That's nice. So, which mock test series you have bought, like when you're giving mocks?
Yeah, so I would use mock test series only. To
Okay.
me, their mock test series were really nice. So I personally would say their mock series is something that I would suggest other people to get as well. But before that, in 2023, I had gotten time. Those were nice
Okay.
as well. They were just some of their papers are too tough, and they are, as you said, can be demoralizing for some people.
Yeah.
So I think Raku's level was consistent, and it prepared us well for the exam. I didn't really take any coaching from anywhere, but the mock series were definitely needed, so I took Raku's. Yes.
That's nice. So, as you mentioned about the strategy that you have applied from in the mocks as well as you applied the same strategy on the exam day as well. So, is there any question which caught you off guard or any sections which you caught you off guard during the time? Like, oh, I planned this and it didn't went well.
Actually, VRC went well. LRDI went well as well. But as I said, of course, you need to go into the exam with a set structure. But of course, you need to be ready to adapt a little bit as well. For example, I started with the first, as I told you, I always start with DI first. But there was only one DI question in our batch, in our set. There were four LR questions, one DI question only. Usually it's a 2-3 split, two DI questions,
Yeah.
LR questions. But there was only one DI question, so I started it, could not solve it actually. So I was like, well, what is happening? I am not able to solve the DI question. That is just something that comes very easily to me. But had to switch gears and then started doing the LR. That started coming to me a bit easier. So I solved the LR, and then by the time I wanted to come back to the DI question, the time had finished. So I didn't get to do the DI question, but it's, okay. I mean, I compensated for it in the LR. But what really was something that caught me totally off guard was, even though I have this no geometry rule, the first question that was in math section, QA section was geometry. So I was like, first question to solve करेंगे ही. नहीं हुआ. I spent 5 minutes on it, and as you know, that is a big amount of lost
Yeah.
time in a
True.
QA section. So in QA, that's why I scored very less. In my 2023 attempt, I got 99.99. In this attempt, I only got 99.4 or 99.3, I think, in QA. So even without preparation in 2023, I had gotten this much. But this time, because of that geometry question, I got stumped a little bit. But overall, I think my LRDI and BRC saved me. But yes, on the day of the exam, anything can happen. You're right. So we need to go with that open mind.
Yeah, very true. So, how was your reaction when you first saw the result? Because after the experience, you're waiting, eagerly waiting for the results. And when you got your CAT score, what was the first thing that's going on your mind?
I was I was very surprised. So I had not thought that I would get this kind of percentile. So I had expected that I should get somewhere around 99.85 or 99.9. That's what the prediction,
Yeah.
the score predictors were saying. So all
True.
these different score predictors are out nowadays. But to my surprise, I got 99.99. I was on a trip with my family I think I was in Doha, yeah. So I was in Doha, Qatar, and I was on a trip with my family, just a 1 week fun trip, and it was in the middle of that trip where I got the score. I looked at my parents. I was like, I got 99.99 percentile, and we all were like very surprised, but we all were very happy. It was a great moment. I was very happy that I had my entire family with me there. My mom, dad, and my younger brother were all there. So very memorable moment.
That's really nice. It's really nice to hear the experience that you had. So, after that, the most tricky part, which came to the GDPI. So, when did you first hear about AY and PrepBee, and what made you try it? Like when you started preparing for your GDPI, what was like? How did you approach it?
Yeah, so actually, around 10-15 days went just in celebrating the score. People, I could have started early because I knew I would be getting all the calls. But of course, it happened that I was happy, and we were in the trip as well. And after coming back from the trip, It was tough to start working or start studying. But after that, I realized it's an opportunity I cannot let go of. If I scored 99.99, I definitely want to convert my top call, and that's definitely Ahmedabad. So I started looking at where I can prepare it from because I knew that preparing it on my own would be like uh, walking in a like on a with a on a path with no lights. So I knew that I had to get some coaching done. And also 2023 experience with my indoor interview was not very good. So I knew I had that I needed to do the preparation. In the indoor interview, I could not answer like 70% of the questions in 2023. So I started looking for a few options. It's very tough to decide when there's so many options in
True.
the market and there's so many people who say different things. So the major reason why PrepBee immediately stood out, or not actually immediately, was PrepBee was doing free mocks for a lot of these people who got, I think, a good percentile, and that wasn't even very high. Like anyone I think who was scoring decently, they were doing free mocks. I don't even remember if it was on a score basis. I think you guys were doing it for everyone, right?
Yeah.
So I sat in that free mock and I realized that firstly that the interview was of a very good level. I talked about my volleyball interest and the person who was taking my interview knew enough about volleyball to ask me questions on it.
Yeah.
So
True.
firstly I saw that all the two interviewers who were taking my mock interview, they were so like knowledgeable, firstly, that they could do that. Secondly, I also saw that the feedback that they gave me was very structured and very nice. So it's like how when we say पहले इस्तेमाल करिए फिर विश्वास करिए type thing happened where I did the mock, free mock, and as soon as I did that on that day only, I in the night decided that I would want to continue with PrepBee, and that's why I was like I should do that simply because the feedback that was given was in a very nice manner. They were like, with your percentile, Vinayak, you'll be able to convert Calcutta, of course, if you try a bit, even with a
True.
decent interview. But if you want to convert Ahmedabad and Bangalore, we see some glaring gaps. These are the glaring gaps. Uh, if you want, you can work alongside us, or if you want, you can work alongside anyone. But we believe that these are the gaps, and it was in a very well structured manner. So it after like an hour of thinking, it became a no-brainer to do continue with PrepBee.
So, did like as you mentioned, you had gone through the mock trial. So, did AFIN actually made a measurable difference in your confidence, or did it? Did you felt the change? Because since you
Yeah.
mentioned 2023 and 2025, and you have pretty basic good knowledge when you already did your work ex right, and
Yeah.
you know the management side. So, how did like what was that measurable difference you felt after joining Preppy?
Yeah, I think there was a very strong difference. So I've never been worried about how I can interact with people. It was mainly the knowledge of the world and things around me. So I do follow a few things. I follow things I like. I follow volleyball, basketball. I follow even some news that are going on. But I have never been someone who can talk about any topic because I have not gone into the depth of a lot of things. I believe now I'm at a certain point where even if we talk about any random topic, I can give in my inputs and I can be a part of that conversation. And that all majorly happened because of just 2.5 months of preparation with PrepBee. Now, majorly that's where I've seen the difference where the confidence, not exactly my confidence, of course, it translates into confidence in speaking as well, but mainly there was a lot of uh, knowledge that I gained through the structure that PrepBee provided. So PrepBee had a lot of good material, but more importantly than that, similarly to how for the CAT preparation I was doing mocks, for PrepBee, for the interview preparation also, I think I did 10, 15 mock interviews. And with every mock interview, I learned something new. I learned something new to prepare financial metrics, what are different things that can indicate a healthy financial ecosystem. But these are just some things that I did not know at all about. So I got to cover the breadth of topics, and for this also, for especially for me, I think I am a learner who learns from mocks. So even with the CAT preparation and even with the interview preparation, I've just been giving more mocks. But yes, there was a lot of knowledge that I gained throughout this 2.5 months, and good habits that I built.
So again, if you had to recommend PrepBee to someone, what would be the one thing that you'll mention to that person, like why you should join?
I love that there were so many mentors, so many different kind of people taking my mock interview. I think even though I gave 14 or 13 mock interviews, there was only one mock interview in which the panel repeated for me. Not the panel, one person out of the panel. So like there's so many different mentors, so many different people. They all have a different perspective, and then what happens is you get to hear from everyone, and then that's how an interview is also, right? Any kind of
True.
people can come take your interview. It can be alumni from that college, it can be a professor, it can be someone who just graduated like 4 5 years ago as well. So there's like so many different kinds of people who can take your interview, and giving those mocks in front of so many different kinds of people made me really confident that okay, I can speak in front of anyone, no matter who it is.
That's really nice. So again, now come to your actual GDPI when it happened. So can you walk us through the GDPI day? Like how did it went? How many panelists were there? What was your GD topic?
Yeah. So I remember the first interview for me was Lucknow, then it was Calcutta. Both of them went really well for me, so I was fairly confident. When I
Okay,
went,
before coming to the GDPI, so how many
yeah,
calls did you have like in
yeah. So
total?
I applied to IIM ABCL, and I also applied to IMK. So I applied to these five. I got calls from all these five. So I attempted these five interviews. I did not uh, want to, as such, apply for the uh, other colleges and distract myself. So that was the major reason. Of course, I I I have friends from XRI, from FMS, a lot of other places, and they are all amazing people. But I did not want to distract myself from my main goal of ABC. Uh, of course, I also applied to LNK because I thought those were also some colleges that might help me in my future dream and goal as well. So these are the five I applied for, and all five I got the calls for. Yes.
Okay, now coming to your GDPI actual day, like how did it went? So what was your topic for GD and how many people were there?
Yeah, so for none of my interviews or the process, I had GDs. So all these five colleges have just stopped with the GD process, I think last year onwards. So I think there was no GD as such. But for all of them, there was the VAT process and the PI process. So I started with Lucknow and Calcutta. Those went fairly nicely. Even the VAT topics were fun. So one of them was about Viksit Bharat. How do you think? What do you think is needed from India to get to Viksit Bharat? What are the challenges? And another one was about do you think healthcare should have patents? Like healthcare we talk about everyone should get healthcare, so why should it have patents? So fun VAT topics, and the interviews went nicely as well. Lucknow interview, I think that's a standard that everyone might have heard that it only goes for 10 minutes and then it ends, and it's very fast. Like you can't really tell too much about yourself. But then to the sharp contrast, my third interview was Ahmedabad, and that went for 30 around 30 minutes. So that was a very long interview. As we started with the AWT process for Ahmedabad, AWT was uh, fortunately on AI. So since AI is in the news a lot, we have a
Yeah,
few things to talk about in the AI front. And I think but also it was fairly comfortable for everyone as well. So the
yeah,
AWT did not. Uh, Now there's a different structure to write AWT compared to WAT, and of
yeah.
course I did prepare for that a bit because I wanted to convert A, of course. But but after the AWD, I was fairly confident. And as soon as I went into the interview was actually very, it wasn't at all terrifying or daunting, but I did not feel like it went well. So, so for my interview, I went. There were two professors, I believe, and I did not see them smile throughout the 30-minute
Yeah.
interview. So I was like, okay, what is happening? Do they not like me? Do they not like my answer? Do they think I'm answering wrong? So they did not smile throughout the process. So even after the interview, when I told people, I was like, oh, they did not smile. I do not know if they'll select me. But I believe maybe it was a tactic where they were trying to make me nervous. I did get fairly nervous, but I did answer all the questions with a smile. I think that is one of the good qualities that people even in the mock interviews mentioned that I do
Yes,
smile. My smile is
true.
warm and inviting. So I think that helped. But majorly, I started with so my branch is civil engineering from for BTech. So they started with some 10-15 minutes of civil engineering questions. So it's been 2 years since I studied civil, but of course, for the GDPI preparation, I did study civil again. So I tried to answer all of them. I think I answered most of them correctly. And then they started asking me about, oh, you write, tell us about what you write. And they tried to see if what I write is something that's uh, like high level or like just I'm just writing for fun. But I think that's after they started asking me about my writing that then they got a bit convinced that oh he's someone who's creative, he's someone who's ambitious. So I think they look for that mainly that you are an ambitious individual who is also grounded. So I think it's tough to maintain that balance, but hopefully and like I think I did that. And now that I've converted Ahmedabad, like I think I now think that the interview definitely went well. So
Well, true, true, that's true. So, what sort of questions or what sort of domain really overpowered your PI? Did they really went into your profile, or did they ask questions related to current affairs, or are they really keen to know about the current affairs? Do you really go through business news?
I mean, I personally studied a lot of current affairs. So I think I majorly prepared a lot. I had Excels made with each column on separate current affairs that were going on. And I don't know if it was visible on my face or something, but I don't remember any of the interviews in which they asked me current affairs as such. But a lot of my peers and everyone around me, they said that a lot of current affairs were asked to them. So I think it's a major part of the PI process.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
the major reason why they did not ask me a lot of current affairs was also because I'm an author and my profile is a bit uh, not fully unconventional, but it is a bit unconventional. So so that's why more of my questions were profile based. So the most like terrifying thing about an interview and also most fun is that you do not know what they'll ask you ever. Like
true.
in my Calcutta interview, they asked me about like what are my views on reservation and how does reservation help grow the country. So those were very good questions. And at the same time, and also something that if I answered correctly, incorrectly could have been controversial, right? So that was the kind of question asked in the Calcutta, but at the same time in Ahmedabad, almost most of it was civil engineering. And in Bangalore, most of it was work experience related. So I did not get a lot of current affairs questions. But I mean, it's good that I think it's always said to us, or even in the interview preparation, it was told to us that it's always better if they ask you profile related questions
Yeah,
because
true.
it's your profile, you know how to answer. But yeah, I think current affairs is a very big part. I was asked a few questions, 2 or 3 questions in the Calcutta interview, but not more and not anywhere else. But I think that's more of the exception than the norm.
True, true,
Yeah.
that's true. And that's really nice as well, since you know about yourself, you are an author, so it would be very not easy, I would say, but convenient to speak on yourself. Okay, so now coming like when you mentioned IIM Ahmedabad call and you got the convert when you saw that, oh, I got into IIM Ahmedabad, was it really surprising for you since you mentioned you
Yeah.
felt that your interview didn't went well?
Yeah, it was very surprising actually. As soon as I got I'm in a WhatsApp group with a lot of friends who also applied to IIM Ahmedabad. So they started the messages started getting uh, like poured in onto the WhatsApp group, 100, 300, 500, that oh what the IIM results have come out, and I my heart started pounding. I was like, A is the first result that comes out. Is the dream college. So I would definitely want to convert this. But the interview did not go good, so I should not get my hopes too high. But I knew that I did answer all the questions, even though they did not smile. I did not try to make it affect myself too much, and I opened and I was like, oh, I got selected. Of course, after I saw that, I think it's been 2 days, or yeah, 2 days from that day. I think now today morning was the day when I finally like I finally started feeling like okay,
Okay, you got
actually.
into IIM.
But yesterday and day before, I was just like very happy. I did not think I would get that happy because this is as I mentioned in the start, this is just a path to your goal, path to my goal.
Okay.
But it made me very happy. It made me happier than I expected it would. And I think everyone's been around me telling me that, of course, you deserve to be happy. It's a big thing.
True, true. It's very true. You did really well, and you did prepare really well. You be consistent from your 2023 attempt and now this. So I think you deserve it. Now coming to my next question. Since now you got into IMA, so do you have any specialization in your mind, or you planning to go for?
Currently, I do think I would want to go into the marketing specialization. But of course, things change.
Yeah,
At the time of when I start, maybe I have more interest towards finance or operations. But yes, pretty
okay.
sure it will be marketing. Also because I studied a few marketing case studies in my current company. It really makes it's very fun to study all of them. So I think marketing is something I might specialize in.
So now that you have, like which specialization you're going for, so are you nervous about like what will happen in the B school, how it will look like? Because since there are a lot of rumors, a lot of stories around, like how your initial 5 days will go. So have you started preparing for some things, or have you talked
Yeah.
to any alumni or any senior?
I've talked to a few alumni seniors, especially from IIT Bombay. I talked to them before while I was preparing for the interview, and I just messaged them that I got in, and they were happy. We have not really talked about what all to do as such. I'm taking some 5, 7 days to just chill and relax and decide on what to do going forward because uh, now I'll have to. Uh, leave my current company and then
Okay.
go to the all the processes that are there, and there are some processes that are involved in joining the college. So I've been thinking that I'll take some 5, 7 days to just chill. But overall, I think all the things that I've heard is that it's going to be very hectic, and though it's a bit scary about how you just have especially my manager is from IIM Calcutta, and my current manager and a lot of my friends are from top IIM, so they do say that all these stories are true. You have to work day in day out for the first 6 months at least. So it's a bit scary, but it's also very fun to go back to college. Of course, an MBA college is a very different experience.
Yes,
But after
absolutely.
2 years of work, going back to study and going back and into a college environment with hostels and all is very exciting as well. So I'm very excited to go. And June second week is when we'll all go to IIM Ahmedabad, and I'm already looking forward to that day.
It's really nice since really less time has left now. So are you planning to go for any course or something since you have already decided with what specialization you're going to choose?
I was thinking that there's, so for example, marketing I already have, as I told you, I already did study a few case studies. And I already also just whenever they pop up on my feed, I also do those marketing case studies. So I wanted to get a whole in like whole perspective before going into the college. So I do believe I'll be studying a bit of finance courses, a bit of accounting courses maybe, uh, and like things like this which I am not very comfortable with. For example, I'm comfortable with
Yeah.
calculus, so maybe not I won't study calculus as such, but I'll study finance and accounting a bit. So just things rather than studying for the specialization, I think I would rather prefer studying about things that I would not want to specialize in, so that I have a whole perspective. Because anyways, when I reach I am the topic I'm specializing in, that they will drill into me, that they will teach me a lot. But
True.
I would want to have the other skill sets with me as well. So, as I said, I'll start in like some 5, 7 days after taking a chill week.
True, you should. You deserve that as well. So, my one last question. Any one word for your journey?
One word. It's been exciting. So, of course, there's so many things you can say. It's been a roller coaster, or it's been uh, like sometimes it's being up and downs, but I think it's moreover been exciting because I started from thinking I want to be a film director. Then I got into IIT Bombay. There I thought that I'll be able to uh, maximize the offerings of IIT, but I could not fully do that simply because it took me 2, 3 years to realize that I do not want to do tech. I would rather want do something which is more management oriented and more entrepreneurship oriented. So it took me a lot of time to figure that out, but I did figure that out, which is great. Then I started working in my job, enjoyed it, but in 1 year I changed my job from Mumbai NBFC to here in a tech firm. So that switch was there. And then finally I started preparing for this for my MBA again and got in. So it's been exciting as such. I think it ties into the point I was talking about that I've tried not to make myself too nervous throughout all of this. And I think that's been what helped me best. So I think everyone prepared differently. Everyone's emotions are different
True.
when they prepare. But to me, that is what makes the most sense is that whatever I do, I try to do it without taking too much pressure and tension.
So, any one last advice for the aspirants who are going to prepare for next year CAT and specifically for IIM Ahmedabad?
Yes, I would say that. I would say that the CAT exam you should definitely give with a structure in mind, but be ready to adapt. And of course, in my experience, you can prepare as much as you want, but the day of the exam, anything can come.
True.
So you need to be ready to adapt. So that's the first thing. And that's a general lesson even for the interview. So as I said in my calculator interview, they asked me to talk about reservation, and that was something that was totally unexpected. So simply, you just need to be adaptable. I think that is the most important lesson that I would want to everyone to try. So even and do not get disappointed by your first mocks. I think that is one as well. So people get disappointed by their first 5, 7 mocks,
True.
and
Yeah.
then they leave preparing, thinking that I can't do CAT. But I think first 5, 7 mocks don't signify anything as such.
Thank you, Vinayak. First of all, congratulations for IMA, though. Thank you so much for sharing your honest experience and your journey with us. And your story is truly inspiring and will definitely motivate a lot of aspirants who are working hard to reach institutions like IMA. So, to everyone who are going to watch this video, remember cracking a college like IIM Ahmedabad is not just about intelligence, but about consistency, discipline, and belief in yourself. If you found this session valuable, don't forget to share it with other aspirants who for them it will be insightful and it will be helpful for them to go through and be consistent and be positive throughout their journey. So we'll see you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.